On June 5, 1976, the Teton Dam in southeastern Idaho collapsed. A wall of water rolled from behind the earth-filled structure down the path of the Teton River. When the water subsided, 9 people were dead, another 2,000 homeless. Over 105,000 acres of farmland were damaged, 16,000 head of livestock lost. The small town of Sugar City caught a crest of water 12 to 14 feet high. Rexburg, with a population of 7,500, was next. Nearly 70% of the town was flooded. The water raced on. 25 miles downstream from Rexburg, Idaho Falls residents braced for the water. Sandbagging began, but in some cases did little good when the water finally reached the town. A day later, when the crest hit Blackfoot, a shopping center became a lake. The people in the flood's path talk about what happened.
This is the worst disaster we've ever had.
Well, I really didn't feel it hit this hard, and when it did, I was right out in front of it, on the west side of, on the north side of Rexburg, right in front of it.
Looks like a bloody mess. It's terrible, worst thing I've ever seen. It's unbelievable. You have to see it to believe it. You can take pictures and show people pictures, but they'd never believe it until they seen it themselves.
So it's frightening.
Well, it's just everybody's kind of a shock. I don't even think everybody really knows what the full impact's going to be yet.
Well, I was up at work, you know, working in St. Anthony, and then I thought it was kind of a joke, and then found out that one of the towns had been wiped out, and then drove home really fast to try to get over the bridge.
Just being scared, especially not knowing whether he was going to make it over the, make it home over the river, because the flood was coming so fast, and how else would you feel?
A disaster center was established at Ricks College. Chuck Frost, of the college staff, explains how it was done.
Starting Saturday afternoon, we threw the dormitories open and to all the people in town. We've had about 2,000 people every night living in all the campus dormitories. Had National Guardsmen, power people, telephone people, plus people have been washed out of their homes living right here on campus.
An immediate priority was reestablishing communications with the outside world. Experts from AT&T's Long Lines Department and Mountain Bell studied the alternatives. The answer? 6 outgoing lines were hooked up via microwave into Idaho Falls. One of the lines was to be used for civil defense, the other 5 for the people of Rexburg and Sugar City left homeless by the flood.
Well, for the first 24 hours, it was a real touchy situation. Nobody could call anyone. And yesterday when the phones came in, everybody was real happy to have them. The 5 lines that are out have been pretty busy, and we've advertised throughout the campus so people could go and call their loved ones, tell them they were all right.
As the shock wore off, little remained except to pitch in and dig out.
walk by and see an individual with most of their worldly possessions gone, mud up to their shoulders, yet with a smile on their face. It's very gratifying to all of us who've had to work with these people.
These people have suffered a great loss, and yet they are very optimistic. They're going about very cheerful. I've yet to see a tear in anyone's eye.
For Mountain Bell, it was a massive job. "40,000 telephone customers were affected by the floodwaters. One of the first to get news of the flood was Mountain Bell Vice President and Idaho General Manager Charles F. Hall. He sent a crew of 200 Idaho telephone people to the flooded area to get service restored. Frank Bromley, General Manager of Customer Services, was made on-the-scene coordinator. Bromley's first task, determine the condition of telephone facilities in the disaster area.
The people that really ought to appreciate it are the customers, and I guess they will in their way.
I'd like to start naming names who are outstanding, but you can't do it because they're all doing a damn good job. Just a brief overview of where we stand, Chuck, at the moment. Rexburg is now fairly dry, mud. We would guess still again 60 to 70% of the houses are badly damaged or completely demolished. All businesses in the downtown area are completely closed. In fact, we were surprised yesterday. The banks have small, I guess you'd call them small tractors or cats with shovels in front, loaders, inside of their buildings pushing the mud out to the streets. Jack, why don't you start?
We know that we have a lot of pairs on the frame that are both good and bad.
Even though we have washed the switches down with the fire hose twice, we have blown them out with air, and we still have silt, and we still have grass and weeds back in the back of the relays and in the banks and so on.
You'll be finding that for the next 2 years.
I hope it's only 2 years. Let me make a comment on the phone center. We operated till 1 o'clock this morning. It appears from preliminary count that from 10 o'clock till we closed it at 1 this morning, when the people quit coming, we put something like 700 calls through there on only 5 lines, which I think must be some kind of a record. I hate to sound like I'm soft, but it really gets to you when you see those people who finally get their relatives someplace and start telling them they're alive, and they start crying, and I'm glad we were able to give them that service. Dean and I finally got into Sugar City yesterday afternoon. Difficult to get there. That is wiped out. There's not a house left. There's not a business left. It's just obliterated. There's just pieces of houses standing around. We tried to get to Roberts, as I told you we were going to, and we got within about 3 miles of Roberts. They still have between 3 and 4 feet of water. Roberts sits down in a pocket. We visited with Civilian Defense. They're today going to make a decision whether they're going to try and cut a canal from Roberts into the river, which is a hell of a big job, or whether they can get pumps and pump Roberts out. Idaho Falls, of course we got all Sandretto and his crews over here.
And when we arrived here, this water at the location I'm standing on was about 3 feet over my head, and crossing that would make it over this bridge about 2 feet, washing large timbers on it. And the Highway Department Civil Defense, in order to save the bridge, had decided to dig a large channel around it here, as we're standing in, to reroute the water. In this reroute area, we had several large cables and a load manhole, and the local lineman here had attempted to support these cables with poles and break the conduit off of them in order to avoid what we finally ended up severing the cables. At the peak of the water, there was so much water being held back, it was pushing it into the motels and hotels along this riverbank, and so the civil defense people and the highway department and the civil authorities here decided we should cut the strand, which in effect would sever the cables, because large timbers and parts of barns and etc. were being tangled up in them and making a dam, even though they had excavated. Our cable, in fact, was holding back quite a bit of water. So we lost the cables at that time, and the water was still rising at that time. We ordered make checks and got cable coming. We had people on the way to go up north, and they stopped here and now are restoring this cable loss that we have here. Basically what we've done, we strung by with new cables across the bridge. We've got a 24, 15, a 9, a 6, and a 4. The 4 was a pick cable, so we snapped it right back together, heavy gauge pick, and that put a lot of rural people back in business in just a couple hours. We've got all the essential service in. We now are after the bulk of this. We are splicing on the east side of the bridge all the pairs with paramedics and pushing all the continuity to the west side of the bridge. At the west side of the bridge, we're tagging from the field from various locations. This is a slow process. We've got 5,600 pair to tag, spread over a large residential, industrial, and commercial area.
In Blackfoot, if you remember the new motel they built there and the new shopping center and that sort of thing,
Yeah.
that area is under about 3 feet of water still this morning. It's starting to drain out. We're out of service in the west part of Blackfoot in the rural area, and that's due to wet cables, which we'll have to take care of as the area drains out. It has not yet.
Over 200 tons of equipment, earmarked by Western Electric for the Rexburg area, was shipped to Idaho Falls. Slowly at first, phone service was reconnected.
Central offices today are back in service. Generally, with full service to most customers, we still have some trunks that are not turned up, but generally we're giving them adequate service for the number of stations that are back on the line in those two offices. There will be maintenance problems over the next few weeks, but we'll work those out. Naturally, you have to expect that after having offices underwater and the mud that comes in with that water during those floods.
At Rexburg, we've restored about 900 stations as of last night. We're busily contacting the businesses there in Rexburg, and we have quite a large number of the businesses back in service. Before the week's out, we should have all of those that want service pretty well restored.
You know, it's been very gratifying. Every occasion that I've been involved in where we've had a catastrophe such as this, the Bell system with the telephone people and that spirit of dedicated service comes forth.
Certainly this is a great demonstration of one company, one Bell system, all united to restore what in my estimation is the worst disaster that's ever happened to the state of Idaho. I've been in touch with the governor and several of the leading senators and congressmen, and they have been most appreciative of the job that we're doing and have encouraged us to go ahead and do whatever we can to restore service to these people. I can't help but be impressed with the Idaho organization and the job that they're doing. We have not had a single person that hasn't responded to any need. We've had volunteers from every part of the state perfectly willing to come over here and spend as much time as necessary to get this restored. Our Western Electric friends in Salt Lake have volunteered to help us. Anytime we've asked for additional equipment, we've had it. The Bell Labs have called with expertise on how to restore some of these offices. It's just been a grand experience and makes me proud of being a member of the Bell system.